So you have a great idea, you have the skills, the passion, the belief to do it, but you don't have enough money to start, and you're wondering if your yes is enough. Can you relate, and are you currently in this place? Jenna and I can definitely relate to this, and we have both been there. We welcome you to the Kingdom Female Entrepreneur video podcast, where you will be inspired to become the kingdom entrepreneur that God designed you to be, build the business that He designed you for, fulfill your entrepreneurial destiny, and release heaven's kingdom realm through entrepreneurship. I'm Kimberly Woods,
And I'm Jenna Shriver.
and we are so glad that you are joining us today. So, I was telling Jenna that most business advisors would never tell you to start a business without significant funding. But it's honestly how a lot of successful people have really started. And it's also the way that many women have to do business. Yes, there are uh, many women that, have the funding, but I believe that there's the majority of women um, don't really have the funding to start. It's either they know that they can't put that strain on their household finances, or or even a lot of times they have an idea, but their husband really isn't on board. That is a
Right.
thing that, I know that we've both really heard that. Um, and it's not always, sometimes it is the case that their husband's not fully on board, but I think a lot of times it's more that sometimes the husbands are they're really looking at the finances, because I do believe that, it's like we all have our things that we bring to marriage. We all have those things, right? And I think a big thing for men is that they were designed to be protector. And
Mhm.
so in marriage, men were designed to be protector of the marriage. And so that's also finances. They're overseeing that. Women, yes, we do too. But men oversee it in a way that goes, um, can we do that? Um, so I think, you know, with a business advisor, probably not going to tell you to start a business without any money or with little money. They're going to go, you need to wait. That's a risk, too high of a risk, right?
Right.
But it definitely is the way that many women start. And so if that is you, we're talking to you today. If
Mhm.
you have these big dreams in your heart, you have this idea and it's great. You have those skills, you have the passion, you have the belief, and you have a big yes, but your current financial status says that there's no way. You are who we're talking to today. And we want to bring you encouragement, hope, and ideas, practical ideas. So we want to bring all of that, but plus the practical ideas, so that you can actually start the business dream, the business ideas that God has put on your heart. Um, I don't know what you think, Jenna, about some of those things. What has been, just what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I definitely agree. I've been in that same situation with both businesses that I've started. I
Yeah.
started my first business as a photographer when I was a senior in high school. So obviously I didn't have very
You
much
were,
money at all.
and you weren't married yet.
No, and I was not married. But I built that business as I was in college and, you know, early years of our marriage. And so I was really bootstrapping for the first 8 years probably of doing it, because they were long and drawn out building this first
Yeah.
business. And so I have some great tips that I really want to share, a little bit later on how to do that. But then with the second business that I built, I had this humongous vision, and I still do, but I had almost nothing to start it out with. And God really just showed himself to be a provider for me in building both businesses, but especially this other one, Together Studios, where he literally gave me the items that I needed in order to get started. And and then other solutions too, and to be able to fund it or keep it going during a really difficult first 2 years.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the excitement too, because I remember you were like, you know, you had everything in place, the idea, the skills, the passion, the belief. You had a big yes, but
Yeah.
not all the finances you needed to really do that and take away from your family's finances. You know what I mean? Like the things that you had in place of, what was for your household. And I
Hmm.
remember you just, being like, okay, well, God, you're gonna have to provide this. And
Yeah.
I remember you telling me the day and just being so excited. Um and there's many stories. Like there's so many ways that God will provide those things so really the answer is yes. Your yes is enough.
Yes. Hmm.
If
Absolutely.
your yes is enough if that's what God is leading you to. If
Hmm.
if if the ideas that you have in your heart, eh, if that is what God's leading you to do, then I believe your yes is enough. And
Hmm.
there's many ways that you can, discover is is this what God's leading me to do? It's really, really simple. You just ask him.
Hmm.
If you are a believer, you have the Holy Spirit within you, and you can ask the Lord to lead you to the ideas that are for you, that he designed for you. Simple as that. You'll have a knowing, you'll just have a knowing and a peace, and you just got to go for it.
Hmm.
Don't contemplate too long and but I don't know if this is God and all that, but you literally have the Holy Spirit within you. He says that you will know his voice. You'll know it. You'll just have a knowing. So that's a way that you can really know that. I remember I I was young, married, and had kids really young. I think I was um 19 when we had our first, 21 when we had our second. We were married. I was 18 when I was married. And um my husband worked, so we didn't have, he was the one who brought in the income. I stayed home with the kids, and I started my first little side idea, and it was selling clothes on eBay. And so, that was the first thing I did. And then I also went to college for photography, and my uncle gave me a camera so that I could do the photography. So it was like there was, just ways that God gives you the things that you need. He gives you the ideas. And
Hmm.
so if you're asking, we want to give you the permission to go, is your yes enough? We believe that your yes is enough. And why do we believe it? Because we've experienced it.
Yeah.
We've experienced that when God's leading you to something, your yes is enough. Your yes is one of the currencies of heaven.
Hmm.
It causes movement. It causes
Hmm.
things to happen. So, like I said, I messed around with like resale things like that. But and there's been several things I've started. I've done the resale on a small scale. I have a really big story about how the franchise started, the resale store, because that's a bigger kind of risk. So I do want to touch on that, because I feel like maybe you're sitting here and you're like, you have a couple risks, it's a little low risk, but then maybe a storefront's a big risk, you
Yeah.
know, because then you have, you know, bigger finances ahead of
Hmm.
you, and your name is kind of on the line and signed on to something bigger. But one big yes that is a specific one that I started with God. Um, and that's this one. That was Oh Freebird Fly, which is now the Kingdom Female Entrepreneur. And I I had the idea, I had the skills, I had the passion, I had the big yes, but I didn't have, uh, honestly, I didn't budget there wasn't any funds to start it. Now, it is a lower cost because it's online and things like that. But I gave God my yes. And I was told, you're not going to be able to do this because you need to build a website, because I we had to have a website for it, and it's like, those are like $5,000 to build, to have someone build it. And we really didn't know that there was actual like these website builders out there, but I knew that there was a way. So I didn't know what was available. I only thought that you had to pay $5,000 to build a website, because that's what we did before with the clothing stores. And um and I don't think there was the website builders out at that time. But I started to do like this search, and I looked up, things I could do. I just did. Google's like my best friend. I don't know if you love
Yeah.
Google, Jenna.
Oh, absolutely. Google and YouTube.
Goo- Google's like, that's where I search can I do this, or what's this? Um,
Mhm.
but I found one that was $15 a month. And I brought it to I'm like, so I bring that to my husband. I'm like, can we do $15 a month? I
Mhm.
really believe in this vision. And $15 a month, how many membership things do we have? And what's
Mhm.
$15 a month, right? So it was doable for our family. And um I started building it. So that was one way of, just having a yes, and going for it. There's always a way. There is always a way
Yeah.
around things. Um,
Mhm.
but that business also launched with a workshop. And I know you remember this, Jenna.
Yep.
It launched with a workshop, and venues are really expensive.
Yeah.
And we live in the Tampa area, and we knew we wanted to have the workshop in the Tampa area. And, venues are not like really inexpensive or cheap in Tampa. And we
Mhm.
have a certain image, branding. We wanted it to all
Mhm.
go with that and have that feel. Um, but it's like, we knew, okay, God's leading us to do this workshop. And so just dreaming with God and knowing, okay, we want this venue. And we just went for it, went in. We knew like how many women we could bring in for ticket sales. We knew what we could do it
Mhm.
at. And we knew kind of like, okay, this amount is doable.
Mhm.
And so I just want to tell y'all, I don't know if I'm giving too much information, but we got a venue in
Mhm.
Tampa, in one of the most like popular areas, for
That's very
$500.
cool.
For $500.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A full
Mhm.
day, a whole day.
Mhm.
So we got it for $500. And that was doable. And the ticket sales paid for the entire workshop,
Mhm.
the snacks, the coffee, the
Mhm.
decorations, um, and we were able to do it.
You know what
So
I
that's just
remember about that workshop
yeah, what do
was
you
that
remember?
I said yes, and I remember buying my flight before I even had money to buy the flight. And I was like, I trust you, God. I trust you're
Yeah.
gonna provide. And because we did our workshops in January, I happened to get a Christmas gift that covered the costs of my
I
flight. And but
remember.
that was like a week before I was gonna fly, and it was due, to pay on my credit card that month. And God totally covered it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Something happens when you get when you get vision, this mission and vision from God, when you get a dream from God, these ideas, they are alive. So what happens is they grow inside you. Hope and faith grow inside you. It says that the Holy Spirit births faith within us.
Mhm.
That's something you can ask. I ask it all the time. Birth faith within me for this, right?
Yeah.
Because his word says that he literally it's births faith within us. The Holy Spirit does.
Mhm.
So if you need that like growing for the ideas and stuff like that, just ask God that, because something happened. It's like we just knew, right? We just were
Mhm.
like, this is it. We can do
Yeah.
this, and you just know, and you go after it. So that's just a little bit of some extra for you. But I believe that the key is that you dream with God for the business idea.
Mhm.
Because I don't know about you. I know we're very much alike on this.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of ideas. And
Yeah.
I think also it's, because we um coach and mentor entrepreneurs, so we have ideas for them. So we do have, it's like we have all these ideas. But even before that, we can have a bunch of ideas. I mean,
Mhm.
I can make a business out of anything, I feel like, and be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I could see how that oh, you could do this, you know." So it's important that you just don't jump on any idea,
Right.
It is important.
Yeah.
So I believe the key is to dream with God for your business idea and the resources to start it.
Yeah.
If he's leading you to start something that you don't have the finances for, I believe he will connect you with the resources that you need
Mhm.
so you can trust him. So Jenna, what is tell us a cool story of some financial stuff, of some ways that God just showed up, gave you an idea, and
Sure.
it
I feel
happened.
like I wanna start with talking about Together Studios
Okay.
because there was just some wild things that happened there.
Okay.
Um, First of all, I was dreaming about Together Studios like years before 2020 and the pandemic happened, right? So I was dreaming about it, planning for it, had so much planned out and ready to go. And God continually told me, nope, now it's not the right time. Now it's not the right time. But He started to connect me with the resources that I would need to be able to start it. So I had a friend who was a very popular and successful photographer in my area that retired, and she went into the mission field. And whenever she was cleaning out her storage unit, she literally messaged me and just said, "Hey, you're welcome to come and take anything you want free, no cost, because I don't have the time or capacity to work through trying to sell these things." And I up before that point, I had God told me to write down a list of everything that I needed and wanted to start Together Studios. And I believe that I walked out like with a van full of things that I think I had everything checked off that list. If maybe there was one or two things that weren't, but it was almost everything checked off that list that I needed for like photography studio equipment, mostly in office equipment. And I was able to share that vision with her, and she literally cried because she's like, I get to be a
So
part of
cool.
this. This is so awesome. And so that just like it meant so much to me. But I sat on those things for a year, year and a half, maybe before
Yeah.
God led me to open. And he led me to in July of 2020, we was the our like opening month.
I remember
And
that.
I remember going, okay, now God, like you've told me for so long not to open. And are you sure we shouldn't just wait a little bit longer now? And he's like, nope, now's the time. And I got a really great deal on a lease in the space that I was in because of the timing that, everything that was happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like the landlord was just happy to be able to lease it and have something coming in. And so he was extremely um, flexible with me. There was so much favor on it.
Yeah.
And it gave me a solid 2 years just to like get experience,
Yeah.
to figure out what worked, what didn't work, where, solidify certain things about the vision and shift a little bit. And that was just huge. I had people reach out to me and give me furniture for the space. So I
Mhm.
was able to replace like cheaper dinky furniture with actual really nice office furniture free. Like I didn't have to invest much of anything except for a couple small things that were more like, I want to get this
Oh
for the
my gosh, I
space.
love it so much.
So God totally provided. And so one of the promises that I have from God from way, way, way back is the Isaiah 22:22. It's like he's going to open doors no man can shut, and he
Right.
closes doors no man can open. And so I experienced in that season him opening doors nobody else was gonna slide in ahead of me, nobody else was gonna steal it from me.
Yes. Yeah.
He provided in that season, and now we're in a season of me seeing where he closed doors, and I'm waiting to see what's going to open up again in the future. So I just want to encourage anybody listening, like Together Studios at this current time, doesn't really exist. Like it exists, but
Yeah.
it's not open. And I'm finally at a place where I have peace with that. And I'm going, okay, God, you opened them, you open those doors. And I know that you also close those doors. And so I'm just eagerly anticipating and like partnering with him in the timing of what does that look like in this next season. So that's just a really cool story
I
from
love it.
Together Studio standpoint about like him giving us the resources that we need. Oh, I feel like one other thing I want to
Yeah,
share about that.
absolutely.
So from in the beginning, I was fully funding, Together Studios. And it
Right.
did get to a point where my husband was like, I don't feel comfortable with us doing that anymore. If by this certain date, it's not able to cover itself, I feel like you need to close it. And so I went to God with open hands and said, okay, do I need to close it or is there another solution? And within the week, I had a friend call me and ask if I would work for him part-time,
Yep.
doing things I know how to do. It wasn't like my favorite thing to do, but I knew how to do it and I was good at it. And this was a really great friend that I trusted. And literally the amount he was paying me every month was $50 more than what I needed every month to be able to keep Together Studios open. So
So
it
cool.
stretched me for a season for
Yeah.
sure. Like, but there was so much grace on it because
Yeah,
it
there
was
was.
the solution that he had for that season.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there
Yes,
was
yes,
so
yes.
much other purpose in that too. But so we have God giving us things, God giving me an extra job to pay for these things
Right.
and just purposeful connections. So he can solve your resource needs in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love
Mhm.
that whole you know, that was God's resource for that. And so you had the grace to actually have a part-time job. I remember I
Yeah,
was like,
on top of everything.
yeah, on top of everything else that you're doing, because you're a brand photographer and you had
Mhm.
Together Studios and you're part of Oh Free Bird Fly and you have
And I
kids.
was homeschooling kids at that
Yes.
time.
Yes. But he gave you
Yes.
the grace to do
Mhm.
that. And I feel like that part-time job, there was so much experience you gained in another like greater. There were things you knew how to do, but he
Mhm.
showed you more. He showed you
Yeah.
things. And
Yes, that's
you
true.
know, and it
Mhm.
expanded even your knowledge of certain things. So it's like
Mhm.
God just brings it all together.
Yeah.
I want to share about the franchise because I mentioned it at the beginning. Um, but I I before it was even a franchise, I was just a girl with an idea, a need that I saw in our community that needed to be fulfilled. And I love fashion, and I have a passion for people to be able to have the clothes that they want and to feel good and to actually fully be able to be themselves in their clothes and feel good, but not pay all these high prices. And it was really for like teen and young adults. I saw kids going to school and I was like, they're getting made fun of because their parents can't afford these, all this stuff. It bothered me. So it was
Yeah.
like, we have to do something. So I grabbed a friend and I'm like, hey, I got this idea. Will you do it with me? And we needed a storefront. And we live in a small town. We lived in a small town at that time, but we had this idea germinating. I didn't dream with God at that time. Although I was a believer and I did pray and I did those things. And so I know that God breathes faith within and births faith within. And so I I just knew. It's like I knew. I was like, "Oh, this is so possible and this is how we're going to do it." And we found a space that was we got had favor on the space that someone rented to us, and we were like, could we looked at it and we were like, if we did not make enough money on the resale clothing, could we pay for it ourselves? That's how we looked at it with
Yeah.
our husband's income because
Yeah.
we both did not work. We were going to start a business. We're like, can our husbands cover this, right?
Mhm.
And so, can we split the cost, and can we do this? And so we went to our husbands and we're like, we know it's going to make money. But let's say it didn't make enough money to pay for the lease that month. Could we cover it outside? And it was not a lot of money. So it was definitely doable, especially splitting it. And so we went for it. It's like crazy. So we found provision and resources in a really low cost lease. The space was nice. It was in a nice plaza. And then, getting the racks, we found, favor there. And then we started out on a consignment model versus we didn't start out paying cash for clothes. We started out in consignment. And so we told everybody, we went all around town. We handed out um, information on it everywhere we went, to every young adult that we saw, every teenager, every mom. Um, and we just went for it. And so, again, I believe that God, when it is something that God's like on, he's leading you to, it's something happens and you're like,
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
you just become this strong, like it's almost like you eat your, like Popeye when Popeye eats the spinach. It's like he just, blows up. And that's kind of like what happens in the spirit when God, it's like God's dream deposited those things. It's like the spinach. You're eating the spinach and you just blow up and you can't help but do it. So
Mhm.
hopefully our stories have encouraged you of what is possible, but we want to give you some ideas
Mhm.
because there's so many ideas of things that you can do and with little or no money.
Right.
And before we give you ideas, with everything you do, we recommend that you dream with God for the business ideas that you're going to start. And if he's leading you to it, then go after it. And again, you'll have that knowing. You'll want to pray and go, God, is this something that you're leading me to? Ask him to show you and to give you that knowing. But the first idea is a photography business. We
Mhm.
both, Jenna took it further, but I started out as a photographer. I've done wedding photography, family photography, models. Models is one of my favorites, fashion, high fashion models. Um, but I, so many ideas. One, I needed a new camera because I started out with a manual camera, all totally manual, even focus in school. And I had that camera. So that's what I was still working with. And I bought a camera from OfferUp for under $150. I found this, it's the Nikon I still use today. That's the camera, Jenna.
Okay,
I
cool.
bought it on OfferUp for under 150, but the way I
Mhm.
bought it, I didn't have any money to buy it. So I sold clothes at a resale shop, all my own clothes that I had. And I sold the old camera that I had before
Yeah,
to a
there you go.
student. And I made enough money to buy the camera that I needed to start this photography business that I was actually finally going to start and doing like family and weddings and stuff like that. I also had business cards printed on Vistaprint when they were having a sale. So it was
Mhm.
under $25 for these business cards. And at that time, you needed business cards. It's a little different now. Things are a little different now. But the other thing is, I didn't have a website. I advertised through Facebook and Instagram. And there are so many inexpensive websites that you could go for, but you don't have to have it.
Yeah.
And I
You
know
don't have to have to
you don't
start.
have to have a website.
Mhm.
Is it a bonus? Is it an upgrade? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But you don't
Mhm.
have to have it. And you can start by word of mouth, by
Mhm.
asking friends and family, whoever God's leading you to serve with that, you can find ways to connect, do jobs for free.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like start out if you're wanting to build your portfolio, like
Mhm.
maybe even do like if it's photography, do like maybe a couple families because you have to put out there, you got to show what you can do or do it low cost. You don't have to do it for free,
Mhm.
but you could do it for low cost or you could even do it full price. Whatever God is
However.
leading you to is what I
Mhm.
believe that you should
Mhm.
do. And then for Christmas, I asked for all the things I would need. I asked for a
Right.
camera bag, a cool strap that I liked for my vision of what I saw, and those were my Christmas gifts that year to be able to start this business. And so I started a photography business with I spent $25 of my own money to start a photography business, and I did it, and I made money, and I did it well, and I was really good at it. And so $25, because the other thing, I sold things to start it. So,
Mhm.
Jenna, what are some tips for a photography business, that like some things that you've experienced that would be some ideas?
Sure. So I started doing weddings and families as well. That's how people led me to be able to have a
Me too.
photography business. So that's what I started doing. And whenever I first started out, it was kind of the same thing. Since I was still living at home, I would ask for
Mhm.
certain things for like Christmas and birthday that kind of helped me out a little bit. But I bought used pre-owned gear from a friend of mine
Yep.
so that I could upgrade to professional gear because she was replacing some things so that she could upgrade. And that camera that I bought from her, I still have. I'm still using here 15 years
I
later,
love it. So good.
almost 15, something like that. And so I think for me, because I was living at home at that point in time, like I could take everything that I had and everything I was making and invest it in something that was professional level, great, great
Right.
quality and would last me for a long period of time. Now you can make some concessions there. Like if you're a mom and you have other responsibilities financially, like you can start with something that's an entry level and not go all the way to pro level right at first, but then you can start replacing things, start
Right.
upgrading as you're making money. And so that's what I would suggest, is just start with some basic gear. Maybe one or two lenses that are you're able to do what you need to do with them, and then you can add to your stash of your gear that you want.
Yes.
But I do recommend, if you're able to, purchase good quality secondhand equipment to start with, so that it's something that will last you, and it'll still hold its value if you go to replace it too.
Mhm.
And then you could also borrow or rent. Like
Yes.
nowadays, there are so many options online for renting gear that if you're able to, say you're just booking sessions or weddings on the weekend, rent some gear for your weekend and then send it back so that you're able to have that professional quality gear, but you don't have to invest in owning it just yet. But
That's
make
so
that
good.
money off one wedding or a weekend full of shoots and put it into something, then, so that you're not continually having to rent all the time.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, yeah, that's one of my favorite things that's available nowadays that was not available whenever I
No, I
started out.
remember looking.
Yeah.
That was not a thing.
Um, yeah, lots of cool options nowadays. Um,
Absolutely.
there are free and low cost versions of apps and software that you can just get
Right.
started with for being able to do things in your business, whether it's posting social media, creating graphics, emails, like all the things that you need on the back end that you use apps and software for. They have like free and low cost versions of them. And then you can upgrade if you need to upgrade later once you can afford it. Because at
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning, when you're starting your business, you should be able to have more time to invest in different things. Whereas later, once you get busier with your business, you'll have less time to do the things, but you should have more money to be able to
Right.
invest in the
Yeah.
apps that, help you do all the things in the background, or, education and things like that. So I would really recommend, if I would be able to go back and tell myself what to do in the beginning, it would be invest your time in free education. So it
Right.
would be, finding things on YouTube and Google, searching those how to do certain things. And then it would be, as soon as you're able, make an investment in education in whatever way God's leading you, whether that's with a coach or a mentor or an industry expert, to be able to learn from them. Because learning from someone's years of experience, free or paid, it's going to accelerate
Oh, yeah,
your
definitely.
journey.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're hoping, here too, is that we hope to accelerate your journey. in, building a business with God is being able to share our experiences and what we've learned over the years so that you can go further faster and avoid some of the things that we had to learn the hard way.
Oh yeah. I remember when um building behind the scenes before Oh Free Bird Fly ever launched, which is obviously the Kingdom Female Entrepreneur now.
Mhm.
But I remember the frustration and the things and all the building. And I remember talking to my husband, talking to Chris about it and being like, this is so frustrating, but I get to learn all these things and go through these things so they don't have to.
Yeah.
And I remember that being such an important thing is that um that is why we're doing this is so that we can give you these ideas and tips and um really ways to get around things so that you don't waste time and money and have frustration, but
Mhm.
also you're going to learn your own things that you're going to be able to pass on. But
Right.
we get to go, hey, we'll give you all these things and then you get to start here and then, you're going to learn things that you're going to pass on. But those
Right.
are so great. I wish they had a lot of those things when I was starting.
Mhm.
But the apps, there's just search whatever idea that you're, where you're going in, whatever apps for photographers, or, just you can do a search and find that. The
Mhm.
next idea I want to give you is for creating a course. If you want to, if you're like, I feel like I have something to teach and I want to create a course. There's course platforms, so many course platforms that you can just do a search, find one that is really inexpensive to start. Because we're talking about, I don't have a lot of money, is my yes enough? So these are all low cost ways that you can start. Um, and one course platform in particular is called Thinkific, and they actually have a free version for one course. And they have a low cost next level up. So, but you can start with the free. There's so many things that you can start with a free version.
Yeah.
Email marketing. I mean, there's so
Mhm.
many. You just start, and then when you're bringing in more money, then you can upgrade. But think if it is a really good one, and you take the payments right through there. Um, if you're not wanting to go with the course platform direction, you could go with a like website builder, like one that's really low cost that has an e-commerce plan for it is Wix. And you need that because you have to be able to take payments for the course. It just makes it easier, but you can do that. And where you hold your video content is you can start a YouTube channel and you mark them private. So they actually have to have a link to use that. You get an email marketing, um, you know, program. You could go with what are some that they can go with?
Free and
MailChimp.
low. Yeah, MailChimp.
What's
Mhm.
another? That's a good free one.
It's a free one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
could start with MailChimp, and then that's how you send the email out with their link, make it simple.
Mhm.
And obviously, and then you can advertise through social media.
Mhm.
And that is a way that you can actually start with either no money or low cost, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and then another idea that I want to share with you is just a resale store. You can start with your own clothes, your family's clothes. You can, if you're bold enough, if you feel like ask for friends and family's clothes to start it. Be
Mhm.
like, I want to start this business, but I need inventory. Would you either
Mhm.
give me it or put it on consignment? And
Mhm.
Poshmark and Macari are free until you sell the things. So it's free startup. They pay the taxes, they take the payments. So it's very low risk. And then use social media as your website. So those are all just really great ideas on things that you can do that are low cost or no money. Jenna,
Mhm.
do you have any other ones that you want to?
Yeah, I have so a couple
Share.
more ideas would be like for the portfolio building aspect, no
Mhm.
matter whether you're a photographer, a coach, or a mentor, or provide a professional service, is consider the option of swapping services in order to build your portfolio. Like for me, whenever I was starting into brand photography and transitioning into that, I connected with a couple key people who I wanted to work with them because I knew that they were my ideal client. And so we swapped services. Like I worked with a coach. We did an equal value package, right? So I would recommend though, when you do this, make sure you do have your agreement in writing. You both agree to it so that there's no opportunity for anybody to be disappointed or upset about not receiving what they were expecting to receive. Um, but then over deliver, do your best to like do
Mhm.
the best job you can in serving this person and make them feel like they got the best deal. Like
Right.
that would be my heart going into it. So I swapped with a coach. You can just, if you are a coach or a mentor or something like that, you could reach out to a brand photographer and ask if they would want to work with you, if you could swap or do a low cost, package and then give them a service. Those are some options to be able to build your portfolio, have people have experience working with you so you can get some testimonials. Um, I would say DIY whatever you can at the beginning, just like Kimberly gave some ideas for DIYing websites and things like that. The other idea that was just presented to me, because I'm in a place of I need to replace some gear, right? Like some expensive gear, like a laptop and things like that. And I was talking to a friend about it, and he presented the idea to me, which I didn't know this existed. But the if you get an Apple card, they have 0% interest for a certain period of time. And so if you need to like get or replace some Apple products, then that's an option. So I'm going to be looking into that to see if I want to go that route of using the Apple Card in order to replace my laptop and maybe a phone. But the only way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go. I could pay for it up front.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the
Yeah.
wiser thing, if I'm able to, is spread it out over some months because I don't want to go into debt and I don't want it to overlap that period of
Right.
time.
Right.
I
Right.
would recommend if you do go that route with any type of a credit card or loan or anything, make sure you pay it off before the interest starts to accrue.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are
Hmm.
great tips. I love it. I love that you put in there about swapping
Hmm.
services. Love it. All right. So the answer to the question is can I start a business with little to no money, but a big yes? And our answer is yes. And we hope that this episode has encouraged you and giving you some great ideas on how you can move forward and starting the business ideas that you have in your heart. And if you would like this episode and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. And until next time, we bless your entrepreneurial journey.